And what was amazing about this case is that she reported it right away, and the county did prosecute the guy, and he was sentenced to about 3 years in prison. But this is one of those really rare cases. Most of the time, sexual assault goes unreported, and the reasons that it goes unreported is that women are afraid that they're going to lose their job. A lot of times, they're told that they won't be believed. They're like, who's going to believe you? I'm the supervisor. A lot of times these supervisors have very, they're well respected. You know, this is what I heard over and over again. This man does his job so well that the employer just wanted to turn it. They just did not want to believe that this certain person could do such horrible things. And it's not just this one raspberry picker case. I hear the same sorts of scenarios from all of my clients working in lettuce, working in the berries, working in the vineyard fields. I have another rape case, believe it or not, where my client was working down in the southernmost part of Monterey County. She was tying vines. And so now now it's like one case ends and another case begins. And this is sort of the life of what goes on in our office. And I always think once, one case closes, it's going to be a long time. I pray it's going to be a long time before I have another one of these cases where, my clients are coming to me and they can't sleep at night. They have anxiety. They start to get panic when they've never ever had panic before because they think that they've seen their attacker somewhere out on the road. They break down in tears frequently and they say, Liesl, I don't understand, why did this happen to me? Why was I chosen? All I wanted to do was to work. All I wanted to do was to do my job well, and I don't understand. At the end of the day, with my client, who's a raspberry picker, she was a fighter. She's a fighter, much like Mary Cruz. Mary Cruz, just as a side note, was my very first case I got at CRLA. Mary Cruz is a fighter, and we fought together to make sure that the employer she worked for was held accountable. And so in the case with the raspberry picker, the case was we were not able to reach a settlement, and that company, rather large, forces all of its employees to sign arbitration agreements. And I don't know if anybody's ever read one of those, but they're actually pretty dense and complex. And so what happens is that their workforce is given a stack of papers upon hire, and they're just told to fill them out and sign them. And my client had a second grade education. She didn't read and write very well, and she did not know what it meant to sign away her rights to a jury and to bring an action in superior court or federal court. So we ended up going to arbitration, and soon that award will become public, but it was, I think, going to be a very historic case because she was awarded a very large sum of money, and the judge, the arbitrator, recognized that the company really needed to do better at training its supervisors and its workforce. And apart from the very significant monetary relief we were able to recover for our client, the judge awarded injunctive relief, meaning she's forcing the company to provide better training, better reporting systems, multiple avenues for reporting, and hopefully this will really create relief that impacts the entire workforce and reverberates across the agricultural community. Because the only way you can really teach businesses lessons is hitting them in the pocketbook, unfortunately. And so that's what we were able to do. So I guess that's pretty much all I had to say.
So I would like to say that the cases you've just heard are exceptions and unusual. And the only reason that they're unusual is that they were reported to an attorney and some form of justice may have been done. It's amazing and it's wonderful that there is so much attention being paid to rape on campus today. And I hope that same sort of concern for women's rights can now extend to the women at the bottom of society who are being harassed and assaulted at the highest rate in society. One survey of women farm workers found that 80% had experienced sexual harassment. And when you see women in the fields, they are generally covered in layers of bandanas, which I assumed at first was to keep dust out of their face and out of their nose, and is actually to shield their appearance from their co-workers. I'd like to say this is a new problem, but Michael started out by mentioning Upton Sinclair. One of the central plot elements of his famous novel, The Jungle, is the rape of an immigrant worker who must basically sleep with her supervisor in order to keep her job and protect her family. So I talked about earlier how race is a central issue involved here, and the other one is power. And you can see in our food workforce what happens when employers and companies have extraordinary power over their workers. All kinds of abuses are possible. So I'm going to end up very quickly, and then I'd love for there to be questions. And I want to end by saying this really doesn't have to be the reality at all. And what we need is strict enforcement of our labor laws, strict enforcement of our laws against sexual harassment. And if people were to ask what I think the single most important change that I would like to see happen that would transform our food system, I would say the transformation of the minimum wage into a living wage. I'm going to quote from Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was responsible originally for the minimum wage. "No business which depends for existence on paying less than living wages to its workers has any right to continue in the United States. By a living wage, I mean more than a subsistence level. I mean the wage for a decent living." I calculated what it would cost the typical family of four to make a living wage for every migrant worker in this country. It would add maybe $30, $35 a year to our food bill, which is less than a family of four going to see a movie. I'm delighted that there's an interest in celebrity chefs. I hope there will be soon an equal interest in the workers who harvest the foods that go into those meals. And for all of you, I hope you can take an interest in food that just extends beyond how it is going to affect your health, but take an interest in food in a way that takes into account how it affects the health of this society. We've heard a lot of disturbing stories, and this system is present in every bite that you take of this food. So thank you, and I hope you'll have all kinds of questions for us.